29 days from now, I will be spending an absurd amount of time with this man over a 3-day stretch in Green Bay, Wisconsin. My buddy Daniel Jeremiah, Move the Sticks podcast as well, back here on the program. Good to see you, DJ. How are you, sir?
Well, I knew you wanted me to come on because you want to talk about the order and how things could stack and how they could shake out. So I took a shot at it. So this is what I've got right here. I just got one spot there in the 8 hole. I don't know who
that's the Padres opening lineup.
Yes. So I'm working on that, trying to put that little piece together there.
I didn't know.
DJ, fantasy draft last night. Got Tatis. You're welcome.
Atta baby.
What do you mean you're welcome? Why is he thanking you for you getting him? Right? What does that mean?
You should be thanking him.
Apparently he's got some good luck. Yeah. I don't know. I think that's what he's insinuating.
Okay. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah, does Russell Wilson signing for the Giants mean anything for the Padres lineup, Daniel? That's an odd first question for you, but I don't know if he plays baseball.
No. Okay. I think he was a Rocky, wasn't he? Was he?
No, as a matter of fact, when he signed with the Giants, Major League Baseball just went ahead and started surfing off of that NFL news and just popped up a bunch of photographs of him out there as a Yankee. There he is. MLB just popped that on their Instagram, you know.
Nice.
So let's just jump into it, Daniel. The last 2 signings for the Giants, with Jameis going first, 2 years, $8 million, and then the 1 year, $20-some-odd million deal that could be it's guaranteed $10.5 means what? How do you view this as the big splash in the draft pond? How does it ripple, Daniel?
I think there's a couple ways to look at it. I think, first of all, if you love Shedeur Sanders and you have big grades on him, I don't think this would stop you from doing that. But the fact that they did make this decision to do this now, I look at it more in timelines, Rich, and with a team like the Giants and where they are from a leadership standpoint, it feels so necessary that they win this year. And that's why they've kind of covered themselves here with a couple veteran quarterbacks. At least my opinion on it, looking at it, it leads me to believe more so that they are going to take another player that can help them win this year. And they feel like these 2 quarterbacks, the combination, whoever wins that job, however that shakes out, could buy them enough time, enough wins to get to their quarterback, later. And maybe that's a situation where they come back in with their next pick and then try and have their cake and eat it too, where they get somebody that can help them right now with the 3rd pick to complement the 2 veterans they signed at a different position. And then maybe they swoop back into the first round and come back for one of these other quarterbacks like a Jackson Dart. And that's kind of their cake and eat it too scenario.
So to me, here's what I take from the Giants' moves, that Aaron Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh, that the Giants know that he's not coming there. So they made these moves the minute that Rodgers, they found out, I guess, that he was at the Steelers facility, or they might have gotten a different indication prior to that, that he wasn't coming there. And the Titans rebuffed any thoughts for the number 1 overall pick if they liked Cam Ward, right? Like, is that another assumption that you can make from these Giants moves, Daniel?
Well, I mean, I've seen people make these types of moves and then still, hey, we're going to try one last ditch effort. Maybe you sweeten the pie a little bit or sweeten the pot a little bit to go up with Tennessee and just try one last ditch effort. I don't think that signing these 2 guys would stop you from at least pursuing that. But I think you're right in that they've kind of read the landscape here. Aaron Rodgers feels like it's Pittsburgh or retirement. So once you know that he's kind of out of the equation, like, let's give ourselves another shot at it here with another veteran. And off you go. I know some people have looked into it and said, well, maybe they were ensured that Cleveland was going to take Shedeur at 2. Therefore knowing they would miss out on him, and that's why they went out and got Russell Wilson. I don't know that information would be shared between those teams at this point in time.
Okay, so let's put a pin in the Cleveland conversation for a second and just linger on the Giants for one more. How does this work? You know what I mean? Like, so based on what you saw from Russ at the end of the season last year, now he's going to the NFC East, and how do you see this working for the Giants with Brian Daboll in a potential last chance saloon situation, DJ?
Well, it's pretty tough because no matter which one of those guys you start, and obviously it would appear like Russell is the favorite there, based financially. You're fourth. You're the 4th best quarterback in that division. So you already start from a weakness from that standpoint. Now, where does that go from him versus what they had in Daniel Jones? I would say it's you could argue maybe it's an upgrade. You were texting me about it last night about, how much of an upgrade is it? What's the difference there? And I said, well, I think you just went from vanilla to French vanilla. Like I think it's very similar. I don't know that you're going to get that much more impact there, but the hope being maybe with the resources you have with the high pick and other draft resources, you can build up the group around him so he has a better supporting group than what Daniel Jones had.
So, again, just to recap, doesn't take them out of the Shedeur Sanders game. Well, although, why go for two veterans, right? Why pop two? Why go 2X for veterans if you're going to draft somebody that you at the top of the draft at quarterback, Daniel?
I think it's been such an issue for them at that position that we're going to throw all these resources. We're going to have backups to the backup plans here. And then I think wasn't it the Jets with the Darnold year when they had signed, I think it was McCown and Geno, right? And then they drafted Sam, and then I think they ended up trading Geno. I think that's what went
to the
went
Giants,
down that year.
I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've seen something similar to this of, hey, we can't go into a season and not have a quarterback. We can't do what we've done the last few years in terms of what we've had to fill in. So let's get a bunch of options. Let's get two veterans we feel comfortable with. And again, if they still love Shedeur and they feel like Shedeur is, going to be a franchise level player to compete in that division with those quarterbacks, then I think you would still take him. Now, would all three of those guys be on the roster at the start of the season? I don't know about that.
Now let's pull the pin out of the conversation with the Browns. What do you think's going on there, Daniel?
Well, I think they worked out Cam today, right? So I just don't see any way that they can pull that off. Tennessee just seems like they're pretty much sticking and picking. So if Cam Ward's off the table, I know it's split. When you talk to people in the league, I've talked to some folks in the league who are connected to one side of that organization that say there's no way they're not taking Shedeur. It's not happening. They're going to take Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, and then they're gonna get one of these second group of quarterbacks. There's people that firmly believe that. Then there's other people that have just drawn the connection between Shermer and Stefanski and said, well, he's kind of got, that's someone he trusts and he knows and how he's wired and how he works and how he thinks. And I know he'd get a very, very high endorsement there. So they don't rule it out. So long story short, Rich, nobody has a clue what Cleveland's going to do. There's a lot of opinions all over the map, and there is nobody with real strong, conviction. It's led me to have strong conviction to say they're absolutely doing this and not that.
Do you think in the next 29 days we'll know? You think when you do your mock draft the night before the draft, you'll have a better idea? I mean, crystal ball it for me. Like, what do you think?
Well, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful by the time we get to the end of the process that'll kind of clear itself out a little bit. But it's gonna come after they spend more time with Shedeur, after Cleveland, goes through that whole process. They'll be at his showcase, which, it is the Colorado Showcase is what it is now, Rich. It's not the Colorado Pro Day. It's the showcase. There will be no showdown at the end of it.
Nice. I like it. Great Price is Right conversation. I like it. I guess any team that doesn't get a Colorado Buffalo gets a nice parting gift. You know what I mean?
Yeah, an iron. You get a nice iron.
You get the press-on nails. You get the Z-brick. I remember all that stuff from when I was a kid. All right, so there's the showcase. But if the Browns don't take Shedeur and the Giants decide to take the other player on defense or / offense that the Browns don't take, where do you think Shedeur goes? Do you think that this move by the Giants and the Browns' decision on Shedeur Sanders means what for Shedeur, Daniel?
I feel like Shedeur is going to be, there's two options here. He's going to be the second or third pick, right? He's going to go in the top 3 of the draft. If he doesn't go in the top 3, I think there's a very real scenario where he gets outside the top 10. I don't think the Jets will do it. I think the Jets are going to give Justin Fields a little bit of runway here. With where they are as an organization and his age and the upside that you can dream on a little bit there. I don't see them doing it. And then New Orleans is another option, potentially that could be a landing spot there. I just don't know if that's the right fit. Kellen Moore, first year head coach, if that's going to be that's going to be the ride that he wants to go on right now. I don't know if that's the case. So I think it's the second or third pick. Very possible he could go in the top 3. Outside of that, I think now you start getting some other teams that become into the mix. You start hearing teams like the Rams looking for their, eventual successor to Matthew Stafford. Do they get in the midst? Pittsburgh's hanging out there even with Aaron Rodgers. That's a short-term deal. So maybe they are in the mix there. So I think if we get through the third pick and Shedeur hasn't gone, then I think that's what we're talking about from that point until he gets picked is who's picking him, who's coming up for him, how's that going to shake out?
29 days from now, I'll be sitting in the NFL Network set with Daniel Jeremiah and the rest of the crew on NFL Network for the 2025 draft. Daniel Jeremiah, a few minutes left with him here. Your takeaway from Cam Ward's pro day is what?
He's fine. I mean, he did everything he needed to do. Okay. I mean, it's just the pro days are literally just don't fall flat on your face. Like that's the goal here. And he more than did what he needed to do. He's got a real live arm. He's got quick hands. The ball jumps. It was a long workout, a lot of throws. And towards the last, quarter of the workout, he had some balls take off on him in the red zone. It wasn't, just a perfect throwing session. But you could see he can do everything you need to do with the football. There's a lot of upside, and I think when you're picking a quarterback at the very top of the draft, I think you do focus a little bit more on the ceiling than the floor. And there is a little risk there with him. He can be a little bit reckless at times. But man, Rich, he's got the tools to compete with the high-end, high-caliber quarterbacks you're going to have to go through in that conference in the AFC. So, he did everything he needed to do. I've used the line on some of these pro days. It's literally like a proof of life pro day. He just hold up the newspaper, show that it's the current date, and you're good to go.
Someday you're saying someone's going to bring out a mirror and just say "fog it up." Like that's what you're saying? That's going to be a pro day one day? Like, is that really what you're saying?
We used to joke that was the admissions policy at App State back in the day.
Nice.
But, now we've really stepped up.
Yeah, you have standards.
No longer the case.
You've got standards now. Yeah. So opening day starter for the Titans? Like that's the sort of thing? Cam Ward gets...
I think so.
Okay. So the AFC South opening day starters, C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Cam Ward, and... Call your shot for the Colts right now, DJ.
Oh gosh, I'll say I'll say Daniel Jones. I think they brought him in there. I think everybody thought it was kind of bringing in a veteran to just try and maybe to gas up Richardson a little bit and get him going. I think he's got a legitimate chance to win that job. I think there was some disappointment in that building with how things have gone with Anthony Richardson. So I'll say Daniel Jones gets that nod.
Okay. Anything coming out of the Texas Pro Day that you want to hit on here? Quinn Ewers sitting out there. Anybody else? There's tons of kids at Texas. I'm wondering what you think.
Yeah, I mean, look, Matthew Golden, I think, has got a real shot to be the first receiver off the board.
You do.
I have him as my top wide receiver. I mean, he ran 4.29, but it's not even, I don't know that like the top end speed is really like the best selling point on him. He's got excellent hands. He's tough. He'll work in the middle of the field. I think he's a good route runner, and then on top of that, you get the 4.29 that he ripped off. So I think he's got a legit shot to be the first wide receiver off the board, and then I think Jedi Barron's got a great chance to be the first corner off the board. Will Johnson's got a pro day scheduled for late in the process. I think it's middle of April, but we haven't got a chance to see him do much. So I know Barron can really really run. He's got really good tape. He's got a ton of production. He's going to play. He can move around. I think he's ideally as a nickel, and I think I'm thinking we'll see. I'm thinking the league has learned their lesson on Brian Branch and Cooper DeJean falling further than they should because of the positions they played, the role they played. I think if you watch the Super Bowl, you probably would realize that maybe he should have come off the board a little bit earlier.
Okay, and then lastly, Daniel, answer this question. Riddle me this, DJ. How does one have an arm grow 3/8 of an inch between the Combine and Pro Day, as Will Campbell's apparently has between the Combine and the LSU Pro Day today? What do you think? His wingspan's gotten smaller, but his arm length has gotten larger, like Leon from Airplane. What do you think, Dane? Brugler's information right there. What do you think, Daniel? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, look, this was anticipated because we went from the Senior Bowl where arms were measured, and then we went to the Combine, and I know Marcus Bowe, the tackle from Purdue, I want to say, his arm shrunk an inch from the Senior Bowl to the Combine, and most of the Combine measurements were shorter than the All-Star game measurements. And then now we get to the Pro Day, and now those more align with what we saw at the All-Star games. Long story short, let me tell you how this works, Rich.
Thank you.
When you're in the draft room, and you've got 3 different measurements from the spring, from the fall, and then from the Combine, and now from the Pro Day. If I have a good grade on Will Campbell, he has got 33-inch arms. You can take that to the bank. If I'm a little bit worried about Will Campbell, guys, we can't. I mean, this is obvious. He's got 32 and 5/8 inch arms. I mean, this is no question about this. Like, what do we do? And that's how that works. It's the same way as when I call around to teams for McMillan's Pro Day at Arizona State, the receiver, and I'd call a bunch of scouting friends that are at the event, and I got a 4.63 time, I got a 4.56, I got a 4.55, and then all of a sudden I got like a 4.52, and so I write back to the 4.52. Man, you guys really love McMillan, huh? I see how this works. I know who likes him and who's not liking him at this point in time based off those times.
I love it. It reminds me of my dad. Rest in peace, Daniel. When I was, say, like 14 and a half years old, and he'd want me to go to sleep, and I didn't want to go to sleep. He goes, "You're 14. You need your rest." And then whenever I was not acting, mature enough, he'd go, "You're 15. You're practically 15." He would round up or round down based to what he wanted out of me. I remember
you almost
that.
Got your driver's license.
Exactly.
I mean,
come on. You act your age. You're 15. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought it was 14 last night when you wanted me to go to sleep. Like, literally, he would do that all the time. I would catch
I also love the parent. If you notice the mom and dad role here, because mom is going to tell you at 14, you need to go outside and get your wiggles out. And dad's going to tell you, you're 14, you're grown, you need to go to bed. You need to sleep. You're a grown boy. It's a lot of conflicting messages as a kid.
I know that. So if I left the Combine, as we left the Combine booth, and I told you what's more likely in a month from now, Will Campbell's arm will grow 3/8 of an inch, or the entire Steelers quarterback room will be the new starting quarterbacks at MetLife Stadium in 2025. You would have said what would have been more likely at that point in time, Daniel?
I would have taken C. I would have taken C. I don't know that I'd believe any of it, but I would say the Giants quarterback situation, that's going to be. I mean, it's going to be something we're going to talk an awful lot about. I know from now till we get to the first round.
When you don't find the words, I know Daniel Jeremiah comes from the if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all school. So I appreciate you doing that, DJ. That says some volumes right there. Appreciate the time, DJ. Thanks.
Good luck to the Yankees and the Red Sox. I'm the only person that'll ever say that, but
okay.
Thank you, friend.
Sounds good. And the Mets can go, forget it. We don't need to talk about the Mets.
They're not winning anything. Oh, TJ, I'm sorry, brother. They have no pitching. Your opening day starter was a reliever last year. Come on.
DJ, tell him what to expect out of Juan Soto. Please do that, because he thinks I'm biased, that I'm a scorned lover.
And you are a scorned lover.
Okay.
Like
I can just tell you from personal experience, and then you're going to see some unbelievable, shots, when you're up 6-0. Anyways, you're gonna be in a situation where you're down by a run, and you're gonna be counting batters. There's 2 outs, and you're like, we just got to get 2 guys on base, and then I can get Juan up the bat. We're gonna have first and second. We only need a run. Like, he just needs to get a single. And then you're gonna see. Let me give you the side profile here. This is what you're gonna see. You're gonna see the bat, and you're gonna see the bat stay right here, and you're just gonna go like this.
Oh boy. Wow.
It's riveting. It's great when you bring your kids into the room and go, "Hey, we got it. You guys up. We got a chance to win it." And it's like, well, he's looking for a walk. That's exciting. Have fun with that.
Man, Daniel, I didn't know you were scoring.
And then what happens when he's in the field, Daniel? What happens when he's in the field, Daniel? Wow. What happens when he's in the field?
Wow.
What happens in right field?
This is great,
Daniel. What do you got?
Well, you can focus on the terrible reads. You could focus on the lack of foot speed. You could look forward to him overthrowing the cutoff man a few times a game. That's exciting. But no, he's Ted Williams. He's generational.
Daniel, it's the first time, and knowing you for 7-8 years, I never thought of you as a hater. But
no,
now,
TJ, think about this though, buddy. Think about this. Think about what we know about baseball players. In 2023, the Padres had Blake Snell, Hader. They had Tatis, or they had Machado. They had Soto. We had Waka and Lugo. Lugo was one of the top Cy Young Award guys last year. We didn't even make the playoffs. Like, that's why I'm upset. It does not make any sense to
He
me.
had 35 and 109 RBIs.
Yeah, I know. He was great.
No, and I watched every single game, and none of them meant anything.
Don't worry about it, DJ. DJ, I've got Juan Soto's glove. This is what he's going to wear on opening day right here. I got it right here on my I got it right here on camera. There it is. Here it is.
Guys would give anything to have Juan Soto.
It's going to be on his hands. There it is. It's Juan Soto's
man.
opening day glove right here. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.